This is Still Prime Morning. Hi, my name is Asia Dua Kumia. I'm here with KMJ. It's time for Good Living segment, but before that, I just want us to, say something little about Gilbert, in the sense that I see Gilbert's story as a highly inspirational one, and it should be something, his life should be something that, a lot of young people would look at and say to themselves that it doesn't matter the kind of situation or circumstance that you find yourself in, you shouldn't limit yourself. Gilbert hasn't limited himself in any way. He found what he can do.
Absolutely.
What resonates with him very well, and he's shining through that. And that can also be your story. So it doesn't matter what you find yourself in. Just always know that there is always light at the end of the tunnel. I love this about Gilbert.
I mean, it's impressive. I watch him and I'm a bit scared,
Of what?
How he's able to use his legs to do what he's doing.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that he finds a lot of, love, passion and everything in what he does. And for those of us out there who see it and we get scared and all of that, it should motivate many others.
Exactly,
You can still do this regardless of whatever circumstance you find yourself in. Indeed, that's really an audacious leap, and for this morning, it could have been anything better than this.
So congratulations to Gilbert, the St. Augustine's College student who's doing immensely well in that, it's high jump, right?
Yeah.
That sport is high jump. I sometimes confuse the names because I'm not a sporty person. Anyway, so congratulations to him.
But what did Natalia say is the name, the motto of the school again?
That's
Oladi Bojim.
The Latin, I can't pronounce it. I cannot pronounce it.
They need to change it. It's nice.
Anyway, so that's a good one by Gilbert. We hope and pray for a better and brighter future for him. It's time for Good Living segment. Today, our conversation is centered on prioritizing mental well-being, and there's a forum that is about taking place. I'm excited about this one. Mental health, mental well-being is something that we need not compromise.
Yep, we have to take it seriously, and that's the reason why we're having this conversation. Take a look at this. When we come back, we've got two guests in the studio, and they're all medical doctors. They'll be telling us more about it. Stay with us.
In a country where conversations around mental health often remain behind closed doors, one woman is stepping forward, not just to talk, but to act. And her journey begins within.
I also have a condition called ADHD, which is attention hyperactive disorder, which is an internal disorder. So this is something that is very dear to me as I experienced it myself.
Jahara Osman lived with a reality she now fights to change. From misunderstanding behaviors in childhood to building a nationwide advocacy, her experience inspired the founding of Premier Rehabilitation Center and now the Mental Health Forum.
We're not just focusing on parents and children, we're focusing on adults in work environments that suffer from depression, anxiety. We're dealing with people who, for some reason, just when they suffer depression and anxiety, tend to some form of drugs or pills in order to calm their anxiety. We are here to focus on all these issues.
The Mental Health Forum, set for Saturday, 31st May, is a launch pad, one where industry experts, parents, teachers, and policymakers will gather to confront the growing crisis.
We are inviting everyone, we are inviting people who would benefit from the program, investors, stakeholders, to come join us on 31st to discuss what we can do as a society to provide the answers that are tailored to our own.
From children battling undiagnosed conditions to adults silently navigating depression and anxiety at work, Jahara says the silence is costing lives.
Mental health is the core foundation of every disease. If you're not mentally stable, you can get any sickness from just not being mentally stable. It's going to be like the base of everything. So let's focus on getting our own brain, our own functions at a stable level, and we would find out that a lot of these diseases that we suffer from will just eliminate itself.
They say I'm crazy. So me, I'm frank and free. I don't have a father. My father has passed away.
From June, her team will travel the country, from Ashanti to the north, taking mental health education to churches, schools, and workplaces. With backing from the Ministry of Health and the Mental Health Authority, as well as generous partners, the forum is free and it's for everyone.
So on behalf of Premier Rehabilitation Center, our partners and stakeholders, we officially launch the Mental Health Forum 2025.
There you have it, all right. So we'll talk about all of that. And Dr. Isaac Newton-Arthur is here with us, and he's also going to help us with the conversation. Jahara is already seated.
Did you just call him Newton?
Oh, Newman. Sorry.
It's pretty, easy to, because of Isaac Newton. So I understand you.
Yeah, where it's coming from. So, Doc is a family.
Yes.
He's always here to help us understand some of these things. He's a psychologist as well, so it's good to have him over here. Earlier, I was telling you about me fighting a young man at the Trotro station, thinking that it was normal, not knowing that this guy looks really good. But according to the people over there,
he's not normal.
Correct. And there are many of us like that, walking about. Mental health is very, very important. But before we even get into that, Doc, this analysis that I'm giving, analogy, if you like, that I'm giving about me fighting this, there are many people out there like that in situations like that. Yesterday, I was somewhere in Okaikwe, and I was asking people what mental health is. They have no idea. Some even understand, but they don't know what depression is. How do we, find ourselves in
before Doc speaks, ladies and gentlemen, we have to, give applause to the founder and the creator of Mental Health Forum, Jahara Osman. She's seated with us this morning, and the spotlight of this whole thing for me is the fact that this forum is for free. Hi, Jahara.
Hi.
Hope you're good.
I'm doing well.
Okay, we'll get more into the forum, a little less, and the drive behind it, and the HDHD thing you mentioned. I would want to know a little bit more about that.
Are you in a situation like?
I'm not saying that. KMJ, you know what? Dr. Arthur.
We have to stop the talk.
The both of us, really? Please exclude me.
No, we can continue.
Right. Dr. Arthur, the question KMJ asked.
Doc, how we find ourselves in situations like these. We keep talking about this, but for me, I think that we've not done it.
I think we're now talking about it because if you look at the progress over the years, we've made significant strides, I think, since 2012, when the Mental Health Act was passed. That gave the legal backing to the practice of mental health care proper and the training in the country. So I think over the past about 13 years, you've seen a lot of advocacy going on.
Okay.
And so we're still not there because we've not been intentional in terms of now a lot is happening. A lot of intentional things are happening.
Okay. Yeah.
If you look at Mental Health Authority, I'm with the Ghana Psychological Association, I'm the PR.
Okay.
Right, so a lot of intentional things are now happening. It wasn't like that. I'm sure if you look at even Joy News and Joy Prime, if you look at how programs have gone in health.
It's true.
It's just
being highly intentional.
It's just recently that you've been hearing those things. And groups like Hair Group, a lot of them are around. So I think now we are getting to understand things better. It was there among the professionals, but in terms of engaging the community and inculcating it into normal clinical care, it wasn't there like that.
Okay.
Even the education of mental health in terms of the training of healthcare professionals, it's not like as it is now.
Okay.
Because those days you may go to medical school, you may hear about mental health and all that, but it's not as it is now. And globally, now we are moving towards more of a holistic healthcare. Because mental health actually, and other things, social and even spirituality, those three things. So we have physical, mental, social, and spiritual. Right? Most of the training and the practice was more on physical health. So you go to the hospital, we focus more on technology, we focus more on cure. And so you may go to the hospital and they'll ask you, they will say, what case is that? By someone's mother. Is it someone's father who is going somewhere? Or hypertensive patient. So now you've been defined by a disease. Or diabetic. You know, or but now we don't use those terminologies. So it's someone with hypertension. Someone with diabetes. You know, because the human being is very, very complex. You know, and all these 4 dimensions, they work hand in hand to create problems. So that is the understanding. So now we are moving towards more of a holistic healthcare. And even if you look at the setup in various health facilities, it's changing. Those days you go and they don't pay attention to the painting, the flowers, they don't pay attention. Now you go to some clinics and the door opens for you. You go and there are couches. Now a lot of doctors are even moving away from the table, doctor behind kind of setting, because table is a barrier. Now you go to certain places and you sit in a couch and the doctor sits with you like this and they have a conversation. Right, because it's not just the medicine and the surgery and that. And now we're looking also about the experience. So the experience bit of it deals with your mental health issues even before you leave the hospital. There are some places you go and you even don't want to live.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. You go to certain consulting rooms and it's even better than your hall. You go and now the doctor may be nicer, the nurse may be nicer, you know, and all that. Now even doctor-patient ratio, people are thinking about it. You know, and so that is the shift globally. You know, some part of the world, the shift has advanced, you know, better than what we have now. But now, thankfully, you can walk into any hospital in the country, and it's likely they have a wellness clinic in there. And even if they don't have, because I work at the University of Professional Studies, their clinic, and there's a wellness clinic. Right now, we pay attention to many things, and that is it. Because mental health seems to be the center around which everything revolves.
That's true.
So think about if someone has diabetes and is not taking the drugs, why? It goes beyond the medication. You may find a professor who doesn't even know the name of the disease he's suffering from, doesn't even know the names of the drugs, right? It's not taking his medications. Why? What is he thinking about? How does he feel about the whole experience, right? You may have people who are overly stressed, and because of that, they have all kinds of chronic illnesses. You may give them medications, BP is not coming down. But when you start dealing with all those stresses, you realize that the medications become effective, right? So mental health seems to be the center around which everything revolves. You know, you go and maybe a doctor is not too nice. Why? Maybe he's going through some stuff that he's not able to manage.
Doc, I would want you to hold on to that for me. Jahara, I did say earlier on that I was going to ask in relation to the ADHD you mentioned in the video that we just played. How did you get to know or find out that you had ADHD?
So it's been a long journey. The first time I was told I have ADHD, that was in the US, and I was like, no, I don't have ADHD. You know, I always would talk to my family and they would say, no, you know, it's because in America it's very easy for you to be diagnosed and be put on medication. So there is this ideology in the Ghanaian community where they always say when they give you medications, you become a zombie. Like they kind of put you there to calm you down, to tame you. So always refrain from the medication and go towards a prayer or somebody in your village doing something, you know. So, but ADHD is actually not something bad. You know, it was just that I wasn't so abreast with the information. So I kind of like...
You panicked a bit?
I didn't panic, but I kind of, you know, pushed it aside under the carpet. And, you know, just about 2 years ago, I saw another psychiatrist because I was like, okay, something is not you know, something is different about me,
right.
you know, so I need to get another evaluation. And I had the same conclusion. So then it was like time to accept it. And then at this time, I actually went back to childhood. So the whole thing is being from my childhood where I had this condition that my parents knew nothing about. So I am from a family of 23 children, so no one is special. So I just was like a little child just moving on with my, you know, attention deficit.
What number are you?
I think I'm about 19 or 18.
Wow.
So, like, my ADHD is internalized, so the chaos is inside my head, not like outside.
Yeah.
So, and from where I grew up, because we were a lot of children, you're always being told to sit down, you know.
Right.
So it's like, because of that, it kind of like, you know, limits you a bit because you're not able to go out as in an environment that allows you to be yourself.
Right.
So the chaos in my mind made it very difficult for me to read. So when I was in class, I could have a teacher teaching, I'll be focusing, but within the next minute, my mind is like out of the country, has gotten its own passport, and it's like, you know, traveling.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like someone sometimes needs to, hey, are you here?
Are you here?
Yes,
right.
For me. And as I got older, it was becoming normal. People would say, hey, are you here?
Whoa.
And I was moving from job to job. Like I've realized that after, you know, going through therapy and trying to figure that out, that every 2 years I did a major change, whether it was like my employment, my school or something. Every 2 years I get bored of something and I start something new. So I have a lot of things that I would start in college. I started 2 years and I left and I went to do a different course, and 2 years later I'm like, no, it's not working. And then I started this business and 2 years later it's not. It was always a 2-year part. But I wasn't aware of it. So actually, when I was diagnosed, I actually sat down and go through the basics. So then I realized that if my parents actually knew
at that early stage.
Yes, I would have had a normal life like everybody else, even though I graduated school and everything, but it was a lot more difficult for me.
Okay.
So, because when I'm hyper-focused, I can study everything, and when I'm not, I become fatigued. So they call me lazy. But then one day I'll get up and do all the work.
And do everything at once,
Yeah.
And it shocks everybody.
Yes. So it's, and I would not study in school, but exams would come and I pass and they'll be like, what happened? Like, what is going on?
Right.
So I figured that as my mother never went to school, unfortunately.
Okay.
She passed. My father never had any proper education. He passed. But then if they actually knew what they were dealing with, I think it would have been a lot easier because ADHD would have stemmed from one of them having that condition in the family. And then as children, we all probably had, you know, something, probably just not me, but when you have parents that, let's say, have bipolar children, children are schizophrenic, autistic. Imagine being born like in my hometown in Boko and having autism. Like, you know, how is your mother, what does she know about
even be
autism?
spirituality associated with it if you don't take care.
What does she know about autistic? You know, some autistic children are very brilliant, some are very, like, you know, have difficulty with day-to-day activities. So for me, my passion is not just about helping society, adults and everything, but the parents that raise the children that are born with a precondition, that once you know it at the early stage, because your doctor is not going to spend as much time with you as the mother. So if you know that your child is behaving or has some behavioral issues, you are going to be the one to have to discuss with the professional in order to come to some kind of, you know, a solution or a management strategy for the child. And that is where the whole story of the Mental Health Forum and Premier Rehabilitation started.
Beautiful story. Dr. Arthur, looking at what Jahara just mentioned.
That she's here.
Yes, she's aware. She's aware of, she's aware of herself. So, listening to what Jahara just said, I want you to talk a bit more on the state where, okay, you are not even aware of yourself, that this could possibly be going on with you. You think that, oh, you're just being yourself, you're finding yourself, you are being normal, and then all of that. But then in the long run, there could be something quite off with, because I believe Jahara thought she was normal, right? You were moving from one job to the other. You were finding something.
I thought I was normal, but I knew there was something very different. From me, from everyone. I knew there was something different. I just couldn't figure it out.
Okay.
And then when I couldn't figure it out, maybe I would turn to alcohol or something, because there is something I'm trying to figure out.
You were looking for something.
I couldn't figure it out. So I needed to know that all I needed is to be able to focus, which I'm on medication now, so I'm able to focus. So the focus means that I don't necessarily need an outside source to hire my dopamine in order to create that awareness, that I'm able to just calm down, and just like I sit with you, your brain is calm, you're focusing on the conversation. If I'm not taking a medication, I could be sitting here with you
and you're not
talking, but my brain is somewhere else. But I'll still be engaging with you, but my brain is like all over the place. So, yeah.
All right. Dr. Arthur, I still want you to, talk on that. What if you're in a state where you're not in the know?
Well, one of the issues with someone who has some mental health problems is the fact that they may not be fully aware that they have a problem.
Okay.
Right, and usually it is people who are around who may see that probably there's something not okay. And okay is in a social norm.
Okay.
What is okay in a certain setting? For example, in this setting, we expect everybody to be seated like we're doing.
Yes.
Pay attention. Engage. Maybe you're in a class, you have to engage. That is a normal setting. And our brain is able to tell us that I'm in a classroom, teacher is talking, we're having a lesson, sit down and listen. There are different parts of the brain responsible for that, right? So for some people, they may struggle because they have a problem, but they may not know. Sometimes the people around. So one of the things we use to even know that there's a problem is where the people around are concerned, because the person can't fit in. Because our bodies are designed to fit in, to be able to make sense out of our environment and to be able to put up certain behaviors because of the environment we find ourselves, right? So whilst we sit here, he won't just get up and go and wee at the corner, because a part of the brain is telling him that
it's not the right
place.
Yeah.
Right. So we're able to socially engage because of our brain. So sometimes we may not be able to do that. And again, apart from social norms, we also look at whether it's causing you some pain, whether emotional or physical pain. So whatever you're experiencing is affecting you. You are in some distress because of that. Then we say it may be abnormal.
Okay.
Because if you're okay, then who cares? But when it's causing some distress, then there's a problem. Yeah. When it's causing dysfunction means that on a day-to-day basis, you are not functional. Because we all wake up, there are things we must do. There are activities of daily living. But when you realize that you're unable to function well, day to day, then we say probably there's a problem. Right? Then again, we talk about damage to things around. So you realize that your education, your work, your relationships, and everything is affected just because of your state. Then we say there's a problem. So to define whether there's a problem or not, we look at whether it's causing distress, dysfunction, damage to things around, and also deviation from social norms. But unfortunately for us, deviation from social norms is tagged, not investigated. So you find someone who, for example, in the house, all over the place and stuff, you send may not go stuff, and you say it's a bad boy, it's a tag. Bad girl, it's a tag, right? But nobody wonder why.
Yeah. Yes.
Because the moment you say why, then you may want to investigate.
Yeah.
You may want to go and see a professional.
Yeah.
Because I've had kids who have been sent to me, and they are very dysfunctional. In class, they may. Because I remember when I was even growing up. Now I think I may have some small ADHD somewhere. Some small. Mine is small. Mine is small, not the one that I need medication. I think because the last time I went somewhere to talk about. The last I went.
Sure it's small.
I remember I went somewhere to go and give a talk on ADHD. And once I was describing, I realized that how small of every symptom that I was talking about. Right? Because I remember in school, it was so difficult to sit still. You know, so the teachers, and I was very, very intelligent. Very, very intelligent. You know, first 3 and part.
Yeah.
There was one girl who was always beating me. I still remember her name. Candida. I've been looking for her to see Candida Dujemfi. I don't know. Maybe if she's watching, she'll get in touch. You know. But I remember in class 2, you know, my teacher actually called my daddy to say that in class. And I remember my daddy almost whipped me in class. But to me, you know, when we were learning, so staying, you know, in class 2 hours, it was a big deal.
Yeah, it was an issue.
You know, so you would want to run around a bit, tease a friend a bit. You know, usually those kids in school, you say they are bad boys or bad girls. It's not like that. Maybe it's just that, you know, that one way that, you know, being in a place for a long time was difficult. I was really struggling with those things. I remember clearly, right? And also remember that, you know, you keep shifting through activities. So one way things really didn't help. And if you realize you may have multiple friends, you get tired with one person, you know, activities, you get tired with one activity.
I'm thinking you're diagnosing yourself.
No, but I told you from the beginning that she's
you're self-diagnosing.
Yeah, it's just that we try to manage her, and we'll continue to manage.
Even when it comes to work, for example, I also noticed that sitting in one office the whole day, like if you're a doctor, you have to be in an office one day, was so difficult. You know, you always have to step around, worry some doctors come back. Even in school, you know, even you know, library was a sleeping place for me because you go, every place is quiet.
Quiet, yeah.
You know, so I always needed some, what do you call it?
Activity of a sort.
So the dining hall, I remember Legon dining hall. I like the dining hall because you go and there are people all over the place. You know, you can go and worry someone. You know, so kids may have, you know, mild, moderate, severe. You know, we say mild. So the mild may not cause what you call significant impairment of function, right? Maybe I have mild because I realized I struggle a bit. You know, so I kept changing jobs. You realize that one job.
Not to cut you off, but I wanted to throw something small in. You know, I figured out, you know, when you talk about the spaces, right? I figured out that usually in order to calm yourself down, you need a space that has different object that has meaning to you. So like, let's say when I figured out in my living room, I have like 3 different colors of sofas because when I look at one angle, I'm seeing another color. When I'm looking at this, I'm seeing, so it always creates a different view. I angle the lights in different way that, you know, when I sit here today, it feels like I'm sitting here. And it always creates an ambience where it doesn't feel like one color
in one space.
And it feels so like you're tucked into a space. So even in classrooms, there are those objects that, you know, if they place it in classrooms, once your mind goes around, once it notices something, it comes back to the room. You know, something that reminds you of something, whether it's a plant or something. It's like it will bring you back to the present. So I just wanted to chip that. That would be a very good way.
Before you realize you're changing so many things in your room, every time there's a new setting, every time there's a new setting, every time there's a new setting, because the one thing, so they have hyperactivity, attention problem, and impulsivity. Right? They may be very, very impulsive in their decision making. Right? And it may even affect relationships. You may not be satisfied with one person. You keep changing, not because you don't love the person, but one person is boring. So you may have multiple friends, and they may be shallow friendships. Because you may not be able to have a very, very deep... and a lot of super creative people who get involved in multitasking and multi-things may even have some small ADHD somewhere. Right, so I said mild, moderate, severe. The severe forms may have significant impairment of all the things you've talked about. And for some reason, they may be on medication. But you may find a lot of the people we see, they are very active at workplace, they're all over the place, they are hardworking, moving from one point. You say this person is hardworking, it's supposed to have some small ADHD somewhere. Right.
All right. Whatever I'm thinking stays in my head. Jahara, let's talk about the forum.
So so the forum, this is kind of the topics that we're going to talk about in the forum. We're going to talk about, you know, the beginning, you know, we're going to channel the energy from, you know, from childhood, how to determine, you know, children with any kind of, if your child is on a spectrum, any kind of deficiency, any kind of issues in the childhood. Once you have a child, you'll be able to focus on understanding if the child is different. You know, I always say ADHD is not a weakness, it's a superpower. So we talk about autistic, we talk about bipolar, schizophrenia. We have so many of it. When we come to the middle age, when we come to children in secondary schools and, you know, in universities, it also becomes like a different thing. Like, you know, I had a really hard time in secondary school, moving from like a normal everyday going from class to being camped somewhere for a couple of years in the name of secondary school and being placed in an order. It was very difficult for me. So I wasn't rebellious, but I realized that a lot of the people that probably had my condition became rebellious at that time because if they couldn't get themselves confined, they'll probably run away from school, they're probably trying to do something. And one thing he mentioned about impulsiveness when it comes to ADHD and a lot of things, when you're in an environment where people don't tend to understand you, you internalize yourself as an outcast. So whatever mental health you have, you see that you're an outcast because people look at you different, but you deep down, you know that you're different because when you look out, everybody's behaving in a way that you wish you would behave that way, but you don't have the capability to do so. So that's when a lot of kids tend to drugs and tends to like any kind of outside dopamine to kind of takes them out of that environment. And so if that happens in secondary school, it's easy for people to fall to addiction and everything. And then once they're in college, if they usually don't do any drugs or any alcohol in secondary school, in university, they tend not to. But then once they graduate, then life begins. You know, people say life begins at 40. No, life begins after college. When your parents are looking at you like, go find yourself a job or something. And then you don't know what to do because you probably went to school to study one thing and, you know, you can't find anything that actually suits you. So that is where a lot of people also tend to, you know, suit themselves with, you know, pills and a lot of things, depression. But we don't tend to diagnose it. We always tend to see that, oh, this child is always staying in the room. That's just a good boy. He never goes anywhere. You know, he's sleeping a lot. You know, depression, staying in rooms, the lights are usually off. You know, these are signs of depression. And also in adults, when we start working, you know, a lot of us have to be at work at 6 o'clock, go home at 6, 7. We're ready to sleep. The next day we are up to do it again. It's like a cycle, and sometimes we get like a mental fog, mental exhaustion. So you find a lot of people who are like everyday workers become functional alcoholics and drug users because they don't do the drugs or the alcohol at work, but once they get home, they do it till the next day they wake up to go home because they have to escape the reality they've created during the day. So mental health, it's like a whole thing that comes from the journey from childhood to ending. And this is the topics that we're going to be discussing at the forum and beyond the forum.
All right.
Got a lot of
the speakers.
Awesome. Good.
Maybe we want to run through quickly the speakers that you have on board.
We have partners for we are partnering with the Ghana Psychology Council, and we're also partnering with the mental health authorities. We have psychologists like Arthur, clinical psychologists. We have Elizabeth. So we have like a whole team. So the whole group, it's a group of people that actually know about the background. They're going to give us the history. The Ministry of Health will come in to tell us about what the whole statistics are. The mental authority will give us the little details of what the government is doing to support. And then we also provide a charitable psychology help to people. So it's like free therapy. In person is free. If you do online, it costs you like 50 cedis, but you get like a 45 minutes to an hour section with a psychologist. So if someone is suicidal or anything, just give that number a call. You have somebody there to assist assist you. Yeah.
Okay. And it's 10 a.m. at the Conference Center,
Yeah.
International Conference Center, on Saturday, 31st of May. It's free, right? That's a good part of it.
That's a good part of it. Totally
If
free.
you have a situation like that, even thinking about going to pay for something like this is a
It could deter you.
It could trigger your financial depression.
Exactly, it will trigger you. So this is free. I mean, come and then listen. You get help when you come there,
Yeah.
especially the parents, who will be coming. Because, like you said, if the parents are able to also assist the kids in knowing what is wrong with them, and all of that, it saves the situation somehow instead of letting them grow and then now they have to struggle their way out and all that. So the parents especially, please come. When we invite you for these things, you think it's not something you have to be there. This time you have to be there.
Especially when it's free.
Is your mom
Please be
going?
there. I will be there.
You go with your mom?
She's not around, so I'll be there. So yes, it's all about the Mental Health Forum happening at the Accra International Conference Center on the 31st of May, 10 a.m. sharp. Please be there. Come, let's learn every single thing that we need to know about mental well-being.
Are there numbers they can call
Yeah.
if somebody want to ask a few questions before they come?
Yes, they can always reach out at 0244 052281.
Okay, repeat that again,
Yes.
please.
0244 052281.
Okay, so beyond this conversation, if you've got any question you want to ask before you meet us at 9 a.m., on Saturday, you can call the number she mentioned.
Yeah, and they can also reach us direct on Instagram, direct or TikTok. We're usually on there answering the messages immediately.
Okay, and the account handle is what? At what?
Premier Rehabilitation Center.
Okay, all right. So that's how you can also do it. Just type on Instagram and you'll be able to connect with them. You want to say thank you to some of the partners and all that?
Yes, definitely want to say thank you to Multimedia. For...
We couldn't have said no. We've got people who will help us, so.
You will be the first person. You will be the first person on the list.
As far as I'm in the same level with you, that's small. Very small. We're good.
I will start on my own, right? then I'll come to you.
Yeah, definitely a big thank you to Multimedia, Omni Basic Bank, our partner bank, Latest Foam. They're providing furniture for us, setting up the stage for us. So any furniture you see there is from Latest Foam. Telecel Ghana, we want to say a very big thank you. Melcom, Kompu Ghana, Polo Restaurants, Limagelan. We want to say a big thank you to Gourmet Garden. Espresso is setting up a coffee stand there. Pinocchio is setting up an ice cream. It's free ice cream. Something to give you the joy like when you get. D Cafe is setting up some sandwiches for us. Verna is giving us all the water and juices. Marina Mall is also giving us some juices. So it's just going to be not just we're going to talk about mental health, but it's just going to be party. Yes.
It's going to be a party.
That's good. I'll be there.
Yes, I'll be there. So thank you so much for this one. Sure. Well, guys, this is the end of today's edition of Prime Morning. My name is Cecilia Tuakomia and
KMJ, we're back tomorrow at 6.
Yes, enjoy the rest of our shows right here.
Of course, Roslyn will be back as well.
Yes.
We'll see you tomorrow at 6.